You are listening to the show that is all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You're back on Get Down to Business. And now, as promised, our next guest up is Chris Everett, the president and CEO of Everett Wealth Solutions. Chris, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Shalom. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. It's a beautiful day as I watch the weather around the country. I am fortunate that I no longer live in New York. It doesn't look too fun out there. But,
no kidding.
But you know what? Chicago has its other pluses other than right now not being the recipient of bad weather. It's because we've got a great networking city, and we get to talk to people like you every few weeks on Get Down to Business. So, Chris, earlier in the week, you and I were corresponding by email, and I forwarded you an article from The Hill that talked about an increased regulatory environment for our financial advisors. And you reminded me that you are a fiduciary advisor. Tell us what that means.
Well, you know, aligning yourself with a fiduciary advisor means that we will always do what's in your very best interest, even if it ends up costing us. It's important to work with someone who is aligned with what's in your best interest. There is a funny YouTube video that's going around called Butchers versus Dietitians. And it explains to your listeners why working with a fiduciary advisor can really be important.
It sounds funny. Butchers versus advisors.
Butchers versus dietitians. You know, butchers can only sell you meat. You know, they only have one thing that they can do for you. And that's all they have. And if you're in bad shape, they're not going to tell you to go start eating fish, right? Because all they sell is meat. So work with someone who is really going to do what's in your best interest.
So, Chris, you take care of your clients' best interests. With that in mind, what sort of things have you been hearing over the past few weeks? It's a new year. We've been talking about that a few times. What sort of questions are people asking? Perhaps you can prompt our listeners and remind people what they should be thinking about and what questions they should be asking.
Right, exactly. And you had asked me to really focus in on folks that are pretty much just getting started or might be early on in their career this time. And so when I thought about that, you know, if you're just beginning or maybe you've been working for a few years, do you really know what your numbers are? Have you looked at where your money's flowing? Understanding your cash flow is just key. So in addition to working with a fiduciary who can get you on the right track and help you to look at your numbers, if for no other reason, go on the Internet and find a budget worksheet and start really tracking where everything is going. That will be key. But I think one of the things that gets people in trouble is socking money away in long-term vehicles before they really create emergency funds. So my third point would be start socking money away in emergency money so that you have at least 6 months, if not a year's worth, to help protect you, because you never know when some unexpected financial situation may appear in your life.
Once again, we're talking with Chris Everett of Everett Wealth Solutions. So you're suggesting that our listeners should keep 6 months to a year of funds available and an emergency fund available at a moment's notice in case something does come up. Would you suggest putting that into a checking or a savings account?
Well, you want it to be liquid. So checking or savings is fine. You know, you can withstand many headwinds with a minimum of 6 months savings and preferably a year. Now, I understand that the banks are not paying much in interest. That's not the point. The point is to be able to withstand headwinds, unexpected headwinds. And I know when you're young, you don't think about headwinds, but trust me, they come. I can't tell you how many times I've had young people say, oh, nothing bad will happen. And then guess what happened? Something unexpected occurs. So unless you have some kind of a rescue plan, save at least 6 months in savings. Number 4, you should save an increasing amount of your income. If you get an increase at work, your savings percentage, your savings account should also get an increase. So at Everett Wealth Solutions, we believe saving a minimum of 15 to 20% is key, not only to financial balance, but to your long-term financial security. And you know, when I think about the next point, you always, number 5, want to be sure to protect your income, probably one of your most valuable assets, certainly while you're young. Protect your income, protect your savings and investments with the proper amount of disability insurance and life insurance. You might want to find out if your employer offers disability insurance and buy it. It's absolutely inexpensive. Now, it won't usually travel with you when you leave that employer, but it's really better than nothing, and it's so inexpensive, and it's a great way to get started understanding that it's important to buy this kind of protection. Now, if your employer doesn't offer disability insurance, you'll need to buy it on your own. The advantage is that you get to take it with you. And in either case, pay the premium on an after-tax basis. Because if you're paying the premium and you get disabled, that benefit will be tax-free to you. So whether you're buying it from your employer or buying it on your own, please use after-tax dollars. But also, on the note of employer benefits, compare your employer's life insurance offering. Many times you can get less expensive coverage simply by shopping around, and we can certainly help you with that. Number 6, if you have enough extra cash flow, you should consider buying a permanent life insurance policy that can hold some of your additional emergency money. Or maybe it's future college money for those kiddos that will be coming down the road, or retirement money, or even money to start or grow your own business. The returns can be very attractive nowadays inside of life insurance. The reason I say that over just simply going into a mutual fund is that because you could also put a disability waiver on there. So imagine if something did happen to you at a very young age and you had these protections in place, your retirement could be secure. Those college funds for your future children secure, and certainly all of your emergency money. Now, I don't think all your money should go into permanent life insurance, but I think that's the order it should go. Once you've covered the basics of saving and proper insurance, point number 7 would be invest for the long term. Like, how about your employer's 401k? They make it so easy, or 403b, or whichever type of retirement plan is offered to you. And if they do offer a 401k plan, find out if they match any part of your contribution and at least contribute enough to get the match. But also ask if they have a Roth option. A Roth option allows you to put those dollars in on an after-tax basis so that at retirement they can come out tax-free. And if you are early in your career, saving money on an after-tax basis inside of a Roth 401k or even just a Roth IRA, you're not forfeiting much of a tax deduction because these are probably your lowest earning years throughout your entire career. Besides, when you consider getting out to retirement, you'll have 2 different kinds of money. You'll have money that's on a after-tax basis or tax-free basis, and all of your employer contributions will be done on a pre-tax basis. So you'll have 2 different buckets of money. My last point would be use savings and investing vehicles with low fees, because over time, fees are a major wealth leak as you seek to build long-term financial security. And there have been many reports, and this administration is really scrutinizing the employers' retirement plans over the last several years. And so if you're not really sure if your employer's retirement plans are too expensive or not, give us a call at Everett Wealth Solutions, and we will be happy to help you look at that.
So once again, we're talking with Chris Everett of Everett Wealth Solutions. Chris, that's very helpful advice, a lot of information for us to digest. Do you have a list that if our listeners email you regarding the sort of priorities and the things that they should think about as they get started in their professional career, long-term disability, savings, 401ks, and so on, that a list that you can provide to our listeners?
Absolutely.
And once again, Chris Everett is at everettwealthsolutions.com. And Chris, how can people reach you by phone?
Well, phone is very easy to remember. It's 708-771-7777. 7777. 708-771-7771. 7777.
It's so easy. It's actually a tongue twister. 708-771-7777. Call Chris. Ask for those for that cheat sheet of things that you should keep in mind as you start to set aside some money, and you do need to set aside some money for savings. And it's not just about retirement; it's about day-to-day living. Chris, as always, many thanks. We'll have you back on over the next few weeks.
Have a nice evening.
You too. After the break, we're talking with Andrea Storrs, who is going to be telling us some advice about first impressions. First impressions on the job search. So important. You're listening to Get Down to Business, the show that is all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship.
His agenda,